Hey YouTube, how the heck you doing? I was just getting ready to do a little water change on my tank here, and I thought it would be a good time to go over a few things with you. Had my AirPods in. I was going to listen to some music as I did it because it's kind of boring doing a cleaning of a tank, but it's part of the hobby and part of the excitement of doing what you do. But I thought it'd be a good time to sit down with you guys and go over one more aspect of setting up your saltwater tank for my series here, and that is introducing lighting to you. I touched on it last time when I was doing the filter system. I just wanted to expand on it a little bit and touch on a few things that I came across as I was setting up my tank. Now when I first started up, I showed you I had this little guy here. It's a subcompact power light. It takes two bulbs. They each have two tubes in them. And if I remember right, it put out about 10,000 K is what it's saying. And that's for reef and corals and stuff. That's about the minimum you want to have is 10,000 K to enable the corals and plants that you have in there to be able to photosynthesize, because that's how they get their nourishment and everything. They don't take in food from the water system, maybe a little bit on the coral side, but a lot of corals and plants just need light to get their nourishment and photosynthesize and keep on growing and getting nicer and bigger. So you want to make sure your lighting that you choose is within the 10,000 K to 20,000 K to be able to do that photosynthesis that the corals need. That's if you're doing a reef tank with corals or live plants. If you're just doing a fish only with maybe some live rock, you probably don't need as high of a Kelvin on there. Your spectrum can be a little lower, maybe a little different types of spectrum colors that you can have in there. But for mine, I was using the 10,000 K on that, and with my LED light that I currently use with the Rokinon, it's also within that spectrum, but I'm able to play with the colors of that spectrum with the red and the blue and the green, and we may touch on that in a later one. But while you're doing your research, you may have come across that, and it probably gives you some ideas what spectrums and what areas you should have. So another thing that you want to look at is the different types of lighting. You want to be able to get a light that you can afford easily, and one that will provide you with what you need for a fairly long amount of time. You don't want to be changing out lights and everything every year or 2 years or so. With the power compact light I had to use get new bulbs every so often, and that was about a year, every year to year and a half. I had to constantly get new bulbs for the power subcompact light that I had, so that kind of gave me the idea to start looking at other lights that I didn't have to keep putting money into the light for the bulb or whatever. And eventually I went with the LED that I have up there, the Rokinon. So you want to look at that. The other thing you want to look at is how it's going to fit to the style of tank, because by now you've looked at the style of tank, what you can afford, what you want to get. You want to make sure it has a good coverage over the top of the tank. It's going to cover the depth of it. This tank here is square. Unlike most tanks are more rectangular and long, this one is square, so I had to find a light which would give me my depth that I need to cover the area inside my tank and the width for my tank. So the Rokinon, it's a single unit with two LED lights on there. I just had to position it to an area above the tank where I could use the best focus of the light within my tank. So you want to look at that. That's basically the style of how it's going to fit and go over your tank and get the best coverage you want. And then of course the price, that's always going to play an effect. But like I said, you want to try to find something within your price range that's going to give you the best life you're going to get without having to put a lot more money into it. Always having to buy bulbs, maybe that's the only way you can go right now. That's okay. You're just going to have to do that until you can find an LED light or something else that's more affordable, going to give you a better longevity that you don't have to keep money, keep putting money in it and everything. So that's what I came across as I was developing my tank and growing my tank. Is the power compact light worked for me for a great long time. I probably got a good 5 years out of it before I had to upgrade and get something a little different for that. So that's the way I went now. I switched over to the LED, and I really like the LED as far as its light spectrum that it gives me for my corals. It gives me more programmability. I can do more of a daylight thing where it's I have a moonlight at night for the fish, and then it starts ramping up in the morning, goes to a peak near the noontime, 1 o'clock time, and then it starts drifting back down, pretty much like the sun, you know, rises and sets. So I like the programmability of the LED. You can do that with timers too on other lights, but just the convenience of it, I can run it through an app. I can change it up anytime I want without having to go to a lot of timers and stuff. So keep that in mind when you're doing that. And I hope you've enjoyed watching these series. Look forward to some more coming through, and I'll catch you in the next time, guys. Have a good one. Time to clean my tank.